You stay with me, kid. You hear me? Don't you dare let me die in this godforsaken place." Those words cut through the howling wind like a knife spoken by a man bleeding out on the floor of the Rusty Pump gas station. Caleb Hayes, just 19 years old, stared down at the massive biker sprawled before him, mud and blood mixing on the cracked linoleum. The stranger's leather vest bore a patch Caleb recognized from whispered warnings in late-night news reports, Hell's Angels. And not just any member. The word president was stitched beneath the skull emblem. Before we dive deeper into this life-changing night, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a story that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. And please comment below with the city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now let's get back to Caleb's impossible choice. The night had started like every other god-awful shift Caleb Hayes had worked in the past 6 months. The fluorescent lights of the Rusty Pump buzzed overhead, casting their sickly yellow glow across rows of dusty chip bags and expired energy drinks. Outside, the Arizona desert was getting pummeled by a rare storm, the kind that turned the dry earth into a muddy trap and made the highway slick as ice. Caleb wiped down the counter for the 3rd time that hour, his movements mechanical. His fingers were raw from the cheap cleaning solution, but he kept scrubbing. Anything to keep busy. Anything to stop thinking about the eviction notice folded in his back pocket, or the hospital bills stacking up at home, or the way his mom had looked at him this morning with those tired, apologetic eyes. "I'm sorry, baby," she'd whispered, her voice weak from the chemo. "I'm so sorry you have to do this." He kissed her forehead and lied. "It's fine, Mama. We're going to be fine." But they weren't fine. The $14.32 in his wallet proved that. 3 days until eviction. 5 days until the electricity got shut off. And here he was working the graveyard shift at a gas station that paid $7.50 an hour while the world fell apart around him. The wind rattled the windows and Caleb glanced at the clock, 2:47 a.m. 5 more hours until dawn. 5 more hours until he could go home and pretend to sleep before his next shift started. The sound of an engine cut through the storm. Caleb looked up, squinting through the rain-streaked window. Headlights appeared on the highway, moving fast. Too fast for weather like this. The roar of a motorcycle followed, distinct even through the thunder. Then came the screech of tires. The impact was brutal, metal on metal, a sickening crunch that made Caleb's stomach drop. The motorcycle went airborne, spinning through sheets of rain before slamming into the Rusty Pump's weathered sign. The rider flew off, tumbling across the wet asphalt like a rag doll before sliding to a stop in the mud just past the gas pumps. The black SUV that had hit him didn't even slow down. Its taillights disappeared into the storm as if nothing had happened. "Jesus Christ," Caleb breathed. His hands were already moving, grabbing his phone from his pocket as he ran toward the door. His fingers fumbled with the lock. The emergency operator would need to know the exact location, the nature of the injuries, how many victims. But when Caleb burst through the door into the driving rain, when he reached the man lying face down in the mud, all those practical thoughts evaporated. The guy was huge, 6'4", maybe 6'5", built like he'd spent his life wrestling bears. His leather vest was torn, revealing a bloody gash across his back. One arm was bent at an angle that made Caleb want to vomit. Blood mixed with rainwater, creating dark rivulets that snaked across the parking lot. Caleb dropped to his knees beside him, rain instantly soaking through his uniform shirt. "Sir, can you hear me? I'm calling an ambulance." The man's hand shot out, gripping Caleb's wrist with surprising strength. His head turned, revealing a face weathered by sun and violence streaked with mud and blood. His eyes were sharp, alert, burning with something between pain and fury. "No," the man growled. The single word came out through gritted teeth. "No cops, no ambulance. You're hurt bad, man. You need—" "I said no." The grip on Caleb's wrist tightened until bones ground together. "You call anyone, I'm a dead man. You understand me?" Caleb stared at him, rain streaming down his face. This close, he could see the patches on the man's vest clearly now, even in the dim light from the gas station. The skull and wings, the letters that spelled out Hell's Angels across the top rocker, and underneath, in letters that seemed to glow despite the mud, President. Every survival instinct Caleb possessed screamed at him to run, to call the cops anyway, to pretend he'd never seen this. He was a skinny kid who worked at a gas station, not some hero from an action movie. This wasn't his problem. But then the man's grip loosened slightly, and Caleb saw something else in those fierce eyes. Something that looked almost like pleading. "Please," the biker said, and the words seemed to cost him everything. "I got a daughter, she's 12. If I go to a hospital, they'll find me. They'll kill her too." Caleb's breath caught. "Who will please?" It was the second please that did it. The raw desperation in that single word. Caleb thought of his own mother lying in that hospital bed fighting for every breath. He thought of what he would do, what rules he would break, what laws he would ignore to keep her safe. "Okay," Caleb heard himself say. "Okay, but we got to get you inside. Can you move?" The man tried to push himself up and immediately collapsed with a grunt of pain. His left leg wasn't working right, and his arm looked like it had extra joints where it shouldn't. "I got you," Caleb said, though he had no idea if that was true. "On three, 1, 2. He hauled the man up with strength he didn't know he had, adrenaline flooding his system. The biker outweighed him by at least 80 pounds, but somehow Caleb got his good arm around his shoulders. Together they stumbled toward the gas station, leaving a trail of blood and mud behind them. The automatic doors seemed to take forever to open. When they finally did, Caleb half dragged, half carried the man inside past the candy aisle, past the coffee station with its burnt smell into the back room, where employees took their breaks. He lowered the biker onto the ancient couch, which groaned under the weight. "First aid kit," Caleb muttered, already moving. "We got a first aid kit somewhere." "Bottom shelf," the man gasped. "Behind the register." "Most gas stations keep them there." Caleb ran. His hands were shaking so badly, it took 3 tries to open the cabinet. When he finally grabbed the white box with its red cross, it felt pathetically small. What was he supposed to do with Band-Aids and alcohol wipes when the man was bleeding from a dozen places? But when he returned to the back room, the biker was already struggling to sit up, using his good arm to brace himself. His face had gone gray, but his jaw was set with determination. "You got a name, kid." "Caleb. Caleb Hayes." "Jim Randall." He tried to extend his good hand, then winced and let it drop. "Guess we'll skip the handshake. You ever dealt with trauma before, Caleb?" I took a CPR class in high school, but that'll have to do." Jim's voice was getting rougher words, slurring slightly at the edges. "Listen carefully. The arm's broken, maybe in 2 places. Don't touch it. The leg, I think it's just bruised but might be fractured. The back wound, that's what'll kill me if we don't stop the bleeding." Caleb ripped open the first aid kit, his mind racing. "This isn't enough. These bandages won't. Use whatever you got. Towels, duct tape if you have to. Pressure is what matters." "I should call?" "You call anyone and we're both dead." Jim's eyes locked onto Caleb's, and there was no pleading now. Only certainty. "Those men in the SUV, they won't stop. They'll come back to make sure I'm dead. And if they find out you helped me, they'll kill you too. No witnesses. That's how these things work." Caleb's hands froze over the first aid kit. "What things? What are you talking about? The less you know, the safer you are." "You just told me I'm already dead if they find out I helped you." Jim actually laughed at that, a sharp, painful sound. "Smart kid. Okay, fair point." He took a shaky breath. "There's a flash drive in my vest pocket. Inside pocket left side. Get it." Caleb hesitated, then reached into the torn leather. His fingers found a small USB drive, warm from being pressed against Jim's chest. It was unmarked black, unremarkable. "That," Jim said, "is why they want me dead. Information about shipments, routes, names. Enough to bring down a whole cartel operation that's been using our club's territory without permission." "Jesus Christ." Caleb stared at the tiny piece of plastic in his palm. "And you're carrying it around. Was supposed to deliver it to the FBI in Phoenix tonight. Obviously didn't make it." "The FBI, but what you think Hell's Angels are all bad guys?" Jim's mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile if it wasn't so full of pain. "Some of us actually give a damn about keeping drugs away from kids. This cartel's been moving fentanyl through our roads using our reputation as cover. That stops now, or it was supposed to." Caleb looked down at the drive, then at Jim's blood-soaked vest, then at the inadequate first aid kit. "I don't know what to do." "Yes, you do. You're already doing it." Jim shifted slightly and his face went even paler. "The wound on my back, we gotta pack it. Use the gauze from that kit and then grab me some clean towels from wherever you keep them. Move fast, kid. I'm starting to feel cold. That snapped Caleb into action. He grabbed towels from the supply closet, his mind operating on pure instinct now. When he returned, Jim had managed to shrug partially out of his vest and shirt, revealing a gash across his left shoulder blade that was still actively bleeding. Press down, Jim instructed through gritted teeth. Hard as you can. Don't worry about hurting me. Caleb folded a towel and pressed it against the wound. Jim's entire body went rigid, a low groan escaping through his clenched jaw, but he didn't pull away. Keep pressure, count to 60, then we'll tape it. The seconds crawled by. Caleb counted them out loud, his voice steady even though his hands were trembling. 58, 59, 60. Good. Now the tape. Wrap it tight. Caleb had never moved so fast in his life. His fingers fumbled with the medical tape, but he got it around Jim's torso, securing the towel in place. It wasn't pretty, but the bleeding was slowing. The arm next, Jim said. Need to immobilize it. Find something rigid. A magazine, a piece of cardboard, anything. Caleb grabbed a stack of old promotional displays from the storage room and used them to create a makeshift splint, taping Jim's broken arm against his chest. Every movement made the big man's breathing hitch, but he didn't complain. It took 20 minutes to address all the visible injuries. When Caleb finally sat back, his shirt was soaked with sweat and blood, and his hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the scissors he'd been using to cut tape. You did good, kid, Jim said quietly. His color was marginally better now, though he still looked like death warmed over. Real good. Don't thank me yet. We're still. Headlights swept across the front windows. Both of them froze. A vehicle was pulling into the parking lot, moving slowly, deliberately. Through the gaps in the promotional posters covering the windows, Caleb could see it was a black SUV, the same one. They're back, Jim whispered. Caleb's heart hammered against his ribs. What do we do? You go out there, act normal, tell them you haven't seen anyone. The storm probably washed away most of the blood by now. They'll know I'm lying. Then you better sell it. Jim's good hand gripped Caleb's shoulder. You got this. Remember, you're just a kid working a graveyard shift. Nothing special, nothing memorable. You're so tired and bored you barely looked up when they came in. The SUV's doors opened. Caleb heard voices, two men speaking in Spanish. Their words were casual, almost lazy, but something about the tone made his skin crawl. Go, Jim hissed. Now, and hide that flash drive somewhere they won't think to look. Caleb's mind raced. He grabbed the drive and shoved it into the bottom of the coffee grounds container behind the counter. Who would look there? Then he took a deep breath, wiped his bloody hands on a rag, and walked out to the main area of the gas station. The bell above the door chimed as two men entered. They were both in their 30s, dressed in expensive casual clothes that seemed out of place in a rundown gas station. One was tall and thin, with a scar running from his left eye to his jaw. The other was shorter built like a bulldog with tattooed hands that suggested a lifetime of violence. Evening, Caleb said, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. Storm's pretty bad out there, huh? The tall one looked him up and down with eyes like chips of ice. You working alone tonight? Yes, sir, just me till 6. You see anyone come through here recently, in the last hour or so? Caleb leaned against the counter, forcing his body language to stay relaxed. It's been dead quiet, actually. Haven't had a customer since midnight. Storm's keeping everyone home, I guess. The shorter man walked past him, heading toward the back. Caleb's pulse spiked, but he kept his expression neutral. Bathrooms are that way if you need them. Fair warning, the toilet's been running for like a week. We're looking for someone, the tall man said. He pulled out his phone, showing Caleb a photo. It was Jim, but from better days, standing in front of a motorcycle, grinning at the camera. Big guy, leather vest, probably injured. You sure you haven't seen him? Caleb studied the photo, then shook his head. Nope, like I said, it's been quiet. Why, what did he do? That's not your concern. The shorter man emerged from the back hallway, shaking his head at his partner. He hadn't gone all the way to the break room, thank God. Probably just checked the bathroom. Maybe he went to the hospital, Caleb suggested, keeping his tone helpful. If he's injured, I mean, there's one about 30 miles north in Kingman proper. The two men exchanged a look. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Or maybe he hitched a ride, Caleb continued, warming to his story now. About half an hour ago, there was a big rig that stopped for diesel. Driver was heading west. I mean, I didn't see anyone get in the truck or anything, but if someone was hurt and needed help, he let the sentence trail off, hoping his logic would sell the lie. An injured man wouldn't stay at a deserted gas station when there was a truck heading towards civilization. The tall man studied Caleb for a long moment. His eyes were sharp, calculating, looking for any sign of deception. Caleb met his gaze steadily, remembering Jim's words. Just a bored kid on a graveyard shift. Nothing to see here. Finally, the man nodded. You got cameras. Broken for like 3 months. Owner's too cheap to fix them. Another long pause. Then the man pulled out his wallet and handed Caleb a business card. Someone matching that description shows up, you call this number. There's money in it for you. Caleb took the card, noting the name Vargas and a phone number. How much money? Enough to make it worth your while. Cool, I'll keep an eye out. The men left without another word. Caleb watched through the window as they climbed back into the SUV and pulled away heading west just as he'd suggested. He waited until their taillights disappeared into the storm before his knees gave out. He collapsed behind the counter, his whole body shaking. The adrenaline that had kept him sharp and focused drained away all at once, leaving him hollow and terrified. Kid. Jim's voice from the back room pulled him together. Caleb forced himself to stand, forced his legs to work, and stumbled back to where the biker was still sitting on the couch. They're gone, Caleb said. They bought it, the truck story. They're heading west. Jim's eyes closed in relief. Smart thinking. They gave me a card, said to call if you showed up. Burn it. Caleb looked at the card in his hand, then at the trash can. What happens now? Now we wait for dawn. My people know I was on the road tonight. When I don't check in by sunrise, they'll come looking. Your people? More bikers. Yeah. How many more? Jim's mouth twitched. Enough. The next 2 hours were the longest of Caleb's life. He kept the lights low, watching the parking lot through the gaps in the window posters, jumping at every sound. Jim drifted in and out of consciousness, his breathing shallow but steady. Around 4 a.m., Jim stirred and spoke without opening his eyes. Tell me about yourself, Caleb Hayes. What's a smart kid like you doing a working graveyard shift at a dump like this? Caleb, who'd been reorganizing the candy display for the 3rd time just to keep his hands busy, looked over at him. What else would I be doing? College, trade school, something with a future. Yeah, well, futures cost money. The bitterness in his voice surprised him. My mom's sick. Cancer. The treatments are expensive even with insurance. So I work. Double shifts when I can get them. It's not much, but it keeps the lights on. Usually. Caleb pulled the eviction notice from his pocket and handed it to Jim. The biker read it slowly, his jaw tightening. 3 days, yeah. How much do you need? Doesn't matter, I don't have it. Jim was quiet for a long moment. You saved my life tonight, kid. You know that? You're not dead yet. Don't jinx it. Those men would have found me if you'd called the cops, would have killed me in the hospital if you'd called an ambulance. But you didn't. You trusted a stranger covered in blood and gang patches. Why? Caleb shrugged, uncomfortable with the direct question. You said you had a daughter. So I know what it's like to want to protect someone, to do anything, break any rule just to keep them safe. He met Jim's gaze. Plus you said please. People who are truly dangerous don't say please. Jim laughed at that, then immediately winced. Don't make me laugh. Hurts like hell. Sorry. Don't be. I haven't laughed in weeks. Jim shifted carefully, trying to find a more comfortable position. My daughter's name is Emma. Her mom died 3 years ago. Drunk driver. Since then, it's just been me and her. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. Jim's voice went rough. She's the reason I'm doing this. The flash drive, the FBI, all of it. This cartel, they're poisoning kids. Emma's age younger even. Someone's got to stop it. Even if it gets you killed. Especially then, what kind of father would I be if I just looked the other way? Caleb thought about his own mother fighting cancer with everything she had, about the sacrifices she'd made to raise him alone, about the guilt in her eyes every time he left for another shift. A smart one maybe, Caleb said quietly. One who gets to stick around. Maybe, but I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror. They fell silent after that. The storm outside was finally starting to ease, the thunder growing more distant. Caleb checked his phone. 5:23 a.m. Dawn was coming. They'll be here soon, Jim said as if reading his thoughts. Your people. Yeah, and kid, when they get here, it's going to be intense. Don't be scared. How many are we talking about? Jim smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. All of them. At 5:47 a.m., Caleb heard the first engine. Then another. Then another. Within minutes, the sound was overwhelming, dozens of motorcycles all converging on the rusty pump from different directions. Caleb moved to the window and watched as headlights appeared on every road leading to the gas station. The bikes came in formation precise and coordinated like a military operation. Jesus, Caleb breathed. The parking lot filled with motorcycles. 50, 100, more. They kept coming, parking in neat rows, their riders dismounting in unison. All of them wore the same patches Jim had, Hell's Angels, and every single one of them looked ready for war. A woman in her 40s broke from the pack and strode toward the gas station. Her leather vest bore different patches than the other's vice president. She pushed through the door without breaking stride. Where is he? Caleb pointed to the back room. The woman brushed past him, two other bikers following close behind. Caleb heard her voice sharp with command. Get the medic, now, and someone called Doc Martinez. Tell him we need a house call, full discretion. Within moments, the tiny gas station was flooded with bikers. They moved with military efficiency, securing the perimeter, checking sight lines, setting up what looked like a mobile medical station in the break room. One of them, a man built like a refrigerator with a salt and pepper beard, approached Caleb. You the kid who helped him? Caleb nodded, not trusting his voice. The man's expression softened slightly. I'm Hank, road captain. Jim called me around 2 a.m., said he'd been hit, said some kid at a gas station was helping him. We rode straight through from Flagstaff. 3 hours flat. He paused. He also said you turned away the cartel men. That true? Yeah, I guess. You guess. Hank's eyebrows rose. Kid, do you understand what you did tonight? Help someone who was hurt. You went up against the Sinaloa cartel unarmed and outmatched, and you won. You saved the president of our chapter. You protected one of ours. Hank's voice dropped. That means something to us. That means everything. Before Caleb could respond, the woman emerged from the back room. She looked exhausted but relieved. He's stabilized. Doc's on his way. He'll live. She turned to Caleb and her eyes were sharp as broken glass. Jim says you've got the flash drive. Caleb retrieved it from the coffee grounds, brushing off the grounds that clung to it. The woman took it, examined it, then slipped it into her vest. This goes to the FBI today. Jim's contact. We finish what he started. Ma'am, one of the bikers called from the door. Sun's up. We got clean roads for the next hour, maybe two. If we're moving him, now's the time. She nodded, then looked back at Caleb. What's your name, kid? Caleb Hayes. Sarah Randall, Jim's sister. She pulled an envelope from her vest and handed it to him. Jim wanted you to have this. Caleb opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a stack of $100 bills. He counted quickly, his heart stopping. $10,000. I can't. Yes, you can. You saved his life. You protected Emma's father. That's worth more than money to us, but Jim insisted. Sarah's expression softened. He also said something about an eviction notice. Caleb's throat closed up. He couldn't speak. Take care of your mom, Sarah said quietly. And if anyone ever gives you trouble, you call this number. She handed him another card, this one with a phone number written in careful script. You're under our protection now. That's not something we offer lightly. Two bikers emerged from the back room carrying Jim on a stretcher. The big man was conscious now, his eyes finding Caleb in the crowd. Stay good, kid, Jim called out. Don't let the world make you hard. Caleb wanted to say something profound, something worthy of the moment. But all that came out was, take care of Emma. Jim's smile was genuine. Always. They loaded him into a black van that had appeared while Caleb wasn't looking. Sarah climbed in after him, pausing at the door. Almost forgot. She tossed something to Caleb. He caught it automatically, a heavy coin, gold-colored with the Hell's Angels insignia on one side and a serial number on the other. Challenge coin. It means your family now. Guard it well. Then she was gone, the van pulling away with half the bikes escorting it. The remaining bikers mounted up engines roaring to life in a coordinated thunder. Within 5 minutes, the parking lot was empty, except for Caleb and the rising sun. He stood there, envelope in one hand, coin in the other, trying to process what had just happened. The eviction notice was still in his pocket, but it didn't matter anymore. He had enough to pay rent for 6 months, enough to cut back his hours and spend more time with his mom, enough to breathe. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Doc says Jim's going to make a full recovery. Emma sends her thanks. You ever need anything day or night, you call. Sarah. Caleb looked down at the challenge coin, feeling its weight. It was more than metal. It was a promise, a bond forged in blood and trust during the darkest hours of the night. The automatic doors chimed as the morning shift manager arrived, stopping short when he saw Caleb. Jesus, Hayes, you look like hell. What happened here? Caleb glanced at the bloodstains on his shirt, the muddy footprints leading to the back room, the general chaos of the night. Quiet shift, he said. Real quiet. The manager didn't look convinced, but Caleb didn't care. He pocketed the envelope and the coin, clocked out, and walked to his beat-up Honda in the parking lot. The storm had passed, leaving the desert air clean and sharp. The sun was rising over the mountains, painting everything gold. As he drove home to tell his mom the rent was covered, that everything was going to be okay, Caleb couldn't stop thinking about Jim's words. Don't let the world make you hard. He touched the coin in his pocket. He wouldn't. He'd stay good. But now if the world tried to break him, or the people he loved, he had 200 brothers and sisters who would ride through hell itself to have his back. That changed everything. Caleb's hands trembled on the steering wheel as he pulled into the apartment complex. The envelope felt like it was burning a hole through his jacket pocket. $10,000. He kept glancing at it on the passenger seat, half expecting it to vanish like some cruel dream. His mother was awake when he came through the door, sitting at the kitchen table with her morning pills lined up in front of her. She looked up and her smile faded instantly. Baby, you're covered in blood. Caleb looked down at his shirt as if seeing it for the first time. It's not mine. Caleb James Hayes, what happened? He pulled out the envelope and set it on the table between them. Her eyes widened as she saw the bills inside. Where did you get this? I helped someone who needed it. He sat across from her, suddenly exhausted. Mama, the rent's covered. The utilities. Everything. We're okay. I didn't steal it. I didn't do anything illegal. He stopped trying to find words that wouldn't terrify her. A man got hurt. I helped him. He was grateful. His mother reached across the table and took his hand. Her fingers were cold, thin from the chemo, but her grip was firm. The truth, Caleb. So he told her. Not everything. He left out the cartel, the flash drive, the men who would have killed them both. But he told her about Jim, about the accident, about choosing to help instead of calling the authorities, about the Hells Angels arriving at dawn. When he finished, his mother was quiet for a long time. You could have been killed. I know. But you helped him anyway. I had to. He said he had a daughter. Her eyes filled with tears. I raised you right then. Mama. No, listen to me. She squeezed his hand harder. In this world, most people look away. They see someone hurting and they think, not my problem. But you didn't. You never do. That's who you are, baby. That's who you've always been. Caleb felt his own eyes burning. I was scared. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing anyway. She pulled him into a hug and he held into her like he was 10 years old again. I'm proud of you. He wanted to stay in that moment forever, safe in his mother's arms, pretending the world was simple and kind. But his phone buzzed in his pocket, shattering the illusion. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Caleb Hayes, a man's voice gravelly and unfamiliar. Who's this? Name's Marcus Webb. I'm a federal agent with the FBI. Sarah Randall gave me your number, said you have information about the Sinaloa cartel's operations in Arizona. Caleb's blood went cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Kid, I'm not the enemy here. Jim Randall was working with us. That flash drive he was carrying, it's evidence we've been trying to gather for 18 months. You kept it safe. You kept him safe. Now I need you to tell me exactly what happened last night. I already told the cops everything I know. You didn't call the cops. Caleb looked at his mother, who was watching him with growing concern. I need to go, he said into the phone. Wait, those men in the SUV, the ones who came to the gas station, did you see their faces clearly? Why? Because they're going to figure out you lied to them, and when they do, they're going to come back. The words hit Caleb like a physical blow. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to keep you alive. These people don't leave loose ends. You think they won't trace back to that gas station, won't check security footage from other businesses along the highway? Agent Webb's voice softened. I can protect you. Witness protection, if necessary, but I need your cooperation. I have to think about it. You don't have time to think. They could be looking for you right now. Caleb hung up. His mother was standing now, her face pale. What did he mean they'll come back? It's fine, it's handled. Caleb, I said it's handled. The words came out sharper than he intended. He took a breath, forcing himself to calm down. I'm sorry, I need to sleep. I've been up all night and I can't think straight. But sleep didn't come. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, the challenge coin clutched in his fist. Every car that passed outside made his heart race. Every sound in the hallway sent adrenaline spiking through his system. Around noon, his phone rang again. This time it was Sarah. Agent Webb called you. It wasn't a question. Caleb sat up. Yeah. Don't trust him. What? The FBI's been compromised. That's why Jim was being so careful about who he gave the flash drive to. Webb specifically. But there are others in the Bureau who are on the cartel's payroll. If you go into witness protection, they'll know where to find you. Caleb's mouth went dry. So what am I supposed to do? Stay close to home. Don't talk to any federal agents except the one name I'm about to give you. And most importantly, don't panic. We're watching out for you. How you're in Flagstaff? Not anymore. Check your window. Caleb went to his bedroom window and pulled back the curtain. In the parking lot below, he saw a familiar motorcycle. The rider, a woman with short gray hair he recognized from the gas station, nodded up at him. Her name's Rita. She's our best. Anyone comes near you or your mother, she'll know. Sarah paused. We take care of our own kid. You're part of that now. After she hung up, Caleb watched Rita for a while. She'd positioned herself where she could see all the entrances to the building. Other residents passed by without giving her a second glance, but Caleb could see the way her eyes tracked every vehicle, every person. His mother knocked on his door. There's a woman on a motorcycle outside. She's been there for 20 minutes. I know, How did he explain this? She's making sure we're safe. Safe from who? Before he could answer, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just 2 words. We're coming. His hand started shaking. He showed his mother the message. We need to call the police. No, that's what they want. They want me scared and making mistakes. He grabbed his jacket. I need to go talk to Rita. You're not going out there. Mama, please. I'll be right downstairs. You can watch from the window. He didn't wait for permission. Outside, the afternoon heat hit him like a wall. Rita watched him approach, her expression neutral. Got a text, Caleb said, showing her his phone. Rita's jaw tightened. Burner phone. I guess I don't recognize the number. They're trying to spook you, make you run. She pulled out her own phone and made a call. Sarah, we got contact. Yeah, text message. Threatening. A pause. Copy that. She hung up and looked at Caleb. You got somewhere you and your mom can go for a few days. Somewhere they wouldn't think to look. My uncle has a place in Prescott, but my mom's too sick to travel. She just had a treatment 2 days ago. Then we stay here and make it a fortress. Rita started texting rapidly. I'm calling in reinforcements. By tonight, you'll have 6 of us rotating the watch. They want to get to you, they'll have to go through us first. Why are you doing this? Rita looked at him like he'd asked why water was wet. Because that's what we do. Jim vouched for you. That's enough. By evening, 3 more bikers had arrived. They were subtle about it, different bikes, street clothes instead of vests, positioned at various points around the complex. To anyone watching, they were just residents or visitors. But Caleb could feel their presence like a security blanket. His mother made dinner, spaghetti his favorite, and they ate mostly in silence. Every few minutes, she'd glance at the window at the strangers protecting them, and her expression would tighten with worry. This isn't sustainable, she said finally. It's temporary. Once the FBI gets what they need, once the cartel people are arrested, it'll be over. And if it's not, Caleb didn't have an answer for that. Around 9 p.m., his phone rang. Agent Webb again. I know Sarah told you not to trust me. I don't blame her, sir, but I need you to listen very carefully. Webb's voice was urgent now, stripped of its earlier calm. We've intercepted communications. The cartel knows you were at that gas station. They know you helped Jim, and they've put out a contract on you. A contract. $25,000 to anyone who brings them proof of your death. Webb let that sink in. That's not a lot of money to these people, but it's enough to motivate every two-bit criminal in the 100-mile radius. You need protection, real protection, not just a few bikers playing guard dog. The bikers saved Jim's life, and they'll get you killed trying to save yours. Please let me help you. How do I know you're not the leak? You don't, but ask yourself this: if I wanted you dead, why would I be calling to warn you? Webb's voice dropped. I have a daughter too. She's 16. Every time I work a case like this, I think about what would happen if she got caught in the crossfire. I don't want that for you. Caleb found himself wanting to believe him. What would witness protection look like? New identities for you and your mother. Relocation to a different state. Financial support until you get established. It's not perfect, but it's safe. My mom's sick. She's in treatment. We can't just up and leave. We'll arrange for her care to continue. Better doctors, actually. Federal health care covers a lot more than a crash from downstairs cut him off. Shouting. The sound of breaking glass. I have to go, Caleb said and hung up. He ran to the window. In the parking lot, two of the bikers were engaged in a fight with three men Caleb didn't recognize. Rita was on her phone calling for backup while positioning herself between the apartment entrance and the attackers. Mama, get in the bathroom, now. What's happening? Now. She moved, thank God, without arguing. Caleb locked the bathroom door behind her and then grabbed the baseball bat he kept by his bed. His hands were slick with sweat. The challenge coin was still in his pocket, a cold weight against his thigh. Someone was coming up the stairs, heavy footsteps moving fast. A knock on his door. Caleb, it's Marcus. Open up. Agent Webb, how had he gotten here so fast? How do I know it's really you? Because I'm the only one standing between you and three cartel enforcers who just took out your security detail. Caleb's heart stuttered. Rita. She's alive, unconscious but alive. The others are holding the stairwell, but they won't last long. You have about 60 seconds to make a choice. You trust me and live, or you stay stubborn and die. Your call. Caleb's mind raced. Sarah had said not to trust Webb, but Sarah also said they'd protect him, and right now his protectors were losing. He opened the door. Agent Webb was exactly what Caleb expected. Mid-50s gray hair, wearing a rumpled suit that had seen better days. He also had a gun drawn. Where's your mother? Bathroom. Get her. We're leaving through the back. I'm not going anywhere until gunshots from downstairs. 3 quick pops that made Caleb's ears ring even from a floor away. That was your 60 seconds, Webb said. Move. Caleb got his mother from the bathroom. She was praying under her breath, clutching her rosary. Together they followed Webb down the back stairs, moving as quickly as his mother's weakened body would allow. They made it to the parking lot when Rita appeared from behind a dumpster, blood streaming from a cut above her eye. Don't trust him, she gasped. Webb's the leak. Sarah found proof. Webb's gun swung toward her. Stay back. Caleb, listen to me. We checked his financial records. He's been taking payments from a shell company linked to the Sinaloa cartel. He's taking you to them. She's lying, Webb said, but there was something in his voice now. Something off. Caleb looked between them, his mind screaming. Who did he trust? The federal agent who'd shown up at exactly the right moment, or the biker who'd taken a beating trying to protect him? Show me your badge again, Caleb said to Webb. We don't have time. Show me. Webb reached for his pocket and Rita lunged. The gun went off, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Rita went down hard, clutching her shoulder. No, Caleb dropped beside her. Run, Rita wheezed. Get your mom and run. But Webb had the gun pointed at Caleb's mother now. We're all going to stay very calm. Get in the car, both of you, now. Why are you doing this? Because I have a daughter, kid, and the cartel has her. They took her 3 days ago, said if I didn't deliver you, they'd send her back in pieces. Webb's voice cracked. I'm sorry, I'm so goddamn sorry, but I'm not letting my little girl die. Caleb understood in that moment. Webb wasn't evil, he was desperate. He was a father making an impossible choice. There has to be another way. There isn't. Get in the car. More motorcycles roared into the parking lot, a dozen of them engines screaming. The Hells Angels had arrived. Webb grabbed Caleb's mother and started backing toward his vehicle, using her as a shield. "Stay back, I will shoot her!" Caleb's mind went blank with rage. Without thinking, he charged. Webb turned the gun swinging toward him, and for a split second, Caleb was sure he was about to die. The shot never came. Jim Randall, his arms still in a sling but very much alive, had appeared from behind Webb's car and brought a tire iron down on the agent's wrist. The gun clattered to the pavement. "You're supposed to be in the hospital," Caleb gasped. "Yeah, well, they gave me good drugs." Jim kicked Webb's gun away and pressed his knee into the agent's back. "Someone want to call the actual FBI, the non-corrupt ones." Sarah appeared already on her phone. Other bikers surrounded Webb while two more helped Rita to her feet. The woman was still conscious, still alert, pressing a hand to her bleeding shoulder. "You okay, kid?" she asked Caleb. "You got shot protecting me, and you're asking if I'm okay." "That's the job." Caleb's mother collapsed into his arms, sobbing. He held her, his own tears streaming down his face. "It's over, Mama. It's over." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true. Sarah ended her call and approached them. "The real FBI's on the way. Jim's original contact, the one he trusted. They'll need statements from everyone." "What about Webb's daughter?" Caleb asked. "He said the cartel has her." "We're on it. We have people who specialize in extractions. If she's alive, we'll find her." Webb, still pinned to the ground by Jim's knee, let out a broken sob. "Please, she's all I have." Jim looked down at him with something that might have been pity. "You should have come to us. We protect our own. We could have helped." "I didn't think—" "No, you didn't." The FBI arrived 20 minutes later, real agents this time with credentials that checked out and an earnestness that Webb's earlier persona had lacked. They took statements, collected evidence, and assured everyone that Webb would be charged with corruption, kidnapping, and attempted murder. The lead agent, a woman named Torres, pulled Caleb aside. "You've had one hell of a night." "That's an understatement." "The flash drive Jim gave Sarah, it's good. Better than good. We can take down the entire southwestern operation with this intel." She paused. "You did something incredibly brave." "I just helped someone who was hurt." "You did a lot more than that. You stood up to a cartel, protected a federal witness, and exposed a corrupt agent. Most people twice your age wouldn't have that kind of courage." Caleb didn't feel courageous. He felt exhausted and terrified and desperately grateful to be alive. They didn't make it back to the apartment until after midnight. The complex was swarming with police and FBI crime scene tape blocking off half the parking lot. Neighbors gathered in clusters speculating about what had happened. "We can't stay here," his mother said quietly. "I know." Jim, who'd been cleared by the medics despite their protest, approached them. "Pack what you need. You're coming with us." "Where?" "Safe house. We have a few scattered around the state. This one's in the mountains, totally off-grid. You'll stay there until the FBI rounds up everyone on their arrest list." "How long will that take?" "Could be days, could be weeks." Jim's expression was sympathetic. "I know it's not ideal, but it's safe." They packed in silence, clothes, medications, a few photos. Caleb grabbed his mother's pill organizer and made sure they had enough doses to last a month. The envelope of money went into his jacket. The challenge coin never left his pocket. As they were leaving, Caleb took one last look at their apartment. It wasn't much worn carpet. Peeling paint, a view of the dumpsters, but it was home. He wondered if they'd ever come back. The ride to the safe house took 2 hours. Caleb and his mother rode in a van with tinted windows surrounded by 6 bikers who rode escort. They wound through mountain roads that got progressively narrower and more remote until finally pulling up to a cabin that looked like something out of a postcard. Inside, it was surprisingly comfortable. 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, electricity from solar panels. Someone had already stocked the fridge. "There's always 2 people on watch," Sarah explained. "We rotate every 6 hours. You need anything, you let us know." "Why are you doing all this?" Caleb's mother asked. "You don't even know us." Sarah looked at her for a long moment. "My brother's alive because of your son. Emma still has her father because of your son. That means something to us. It means everything." That night, Caleb lay in an unfamiliar bed listening to the sounds of the forest outside. His mother was asleep in the next room, her breathing steady for the first time in days. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he did recognize, this time Jim. "Emma wants to meet you when this is over." If you're willing. Caleb stared at the message for a long time before typing back. I'd like that. A pause then. Thank you for giving her more time with her dad. I won't forget it. None of us will. Caleb set his phone aside and pulled out the challenge coin. In the dim light from the window, the engraving seemed to glow. He thought about the past 36 hours, about all the impossible choices he'd made, about how easily he could have died. But he hadn't. He'd survived. And more than that, he'd found something he didn't know he was missing, a family that would ride through hell to protect him. His old life was gone, burned away in gunfire and blood and desperate gambles. But maybe, just maybe, what was rising from the ashes would be something better. He fell asleep holding that thought, the challenge coin pressed against his heart, while outside the cabin, loyal guards kept watch through the long mountain night. The morning sun hadn't yet broken through the pine trees when Caleb heard his mother scream. He bolted from bed, hard hammering, and threw open her door. She was sitting up, clutching her chest, her face twisted in pain. Mama! Can't breathe, she gasped. Something's wrong. Caleb ran to the main room where Hank was on watch. We need a doctor. Now. Hank was already on his phone. How bad? Chest pain, trouble breathing. Doc Martinez is 40 minutes out. Can she wait? Caleb's mother let out a cry that made his blood run cold. No, she can't wait. Then we ride. Hank grabbed his keys. There's a hospital in Prescott Valley. 25 minutes if we push it. The FBI said we had to stay here. Your mom's dying, kid. Screw what the FBI said. They got her into the van, Caleb holding her hand while Hank drove like a man possessed. 3 other bikers flanked them on the winding mountain roads, their engines screaming. His mother's breathing was getting shallower, her lips turning blue. Stay with me, Mama. Please stay with me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, baby. Don't you dare apologize. You're going to be fine. But her eyes were closing, her grip on his hand weakening. Caleb had never felt so helpless in his life. All the money Jim had given him, all the protection from the Hells Angels, and he couldn't do the one thing that mattered. He couldn't save his mother. They burst through the emergency room doors with his mother on a gurney, nurses swarming immediately. Someone pulled Caleb back as they rushed her into a treatment room. Sir, you need to wait here. That's my mother, and we're going to help her, but you need to let us work. The door swung shut, leaving Caleb alone in the waiting room. Hank appeared beside him, putting a heavy hand on his shoulder. She's tough. She'll pull through. You don't know that. No, but I know fighters when I see them. Your mom, she's been fighting cancer for how long? 18 months. Then she's not going to let a heart episode take her down. Hank guided him to a chair. Sit, I'll get coffee. But Caleb couldn't sit. He paced the waiting room, checking his phone every 30 seconds, even though there was no one to call. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the device. An hour passed, then 2. Finally, a doctor emerged, her scrubs marked with his mother's blood. Mr. Hayes. Caleb's throat closed. She's stable. It was a pulmonary embolism, likely a complication from her cancer treatment. We've got her on blood thinners and oxygen. She's going to need to stay for observation probably 3 or 4 days. The relief hit Caleb so hard, his knees buckled. Hank caught him before he fell. Can I see her? She's sleeping right now, but yes, room 304. His mother looked so small in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines and tubes. Her color was better, though her breathing steady. Caleb pulled a chair beside her and took her hand. I'm here, Mama. I'm right here. Her eyes fluttered open. Caleb. Yeah, it's me. I scared you. Terrified me. A weak smile touched her lips. Can't get rid of me that easy. Good, because I'm not ready to lose you. She squeezed his hand with what little strength she had. The nurse said there are men with motorcycles outside. Security. Yeah, they're making sure you're safe. From the people who want to hurt you. It wasn't a question. Caleb nodded. I want you to listen to me very carefully. His mother's voice was firm despite her weakness. If staying with me puts you in danger, you leave. You hear me? You get somewhere safe. I'm not leaving you. Caleb James Hayes. No, Mama. I spent the last 1.5 years watching you fight, fighting alongside you. I'm not walking away now just because some cartel thugs want me dead. He leaned closer. We're in this together. Always have been. Tears slipped down her cheeks. When did you grow up? Sometime between the eviction notice and the gunfight in our parking lot. She laughed, then winced. Don't make me laugh. Hurts. A knock on the door interrupted them. Agent Torres stepped inside, her expression grave. I'm glad you're okay, Mrs. Hayes. I heard what happened. How did you know we were here? Caleb demanded. The hospital flagged your mother's admission. Her name's on a watch list. Torres pulled up a chair. We have a problem. The arrests we made last night, they were mostly low-level operatives. The cartel's leadership is still operational, and they're not happy about the flash drive going public. Define not happy. They've doubled the contract on you, $50,000, and they've expanded it to include anyone who helps you. Caleb's blood went cold. My mother. Yes, I'm sorry. Then get them, use the flash drive, and arrest everyone. We're working on it, but these things take time. We need warrants. We need to coordinate with Mexican authorities. My mother almost died today, Caleb's voice rose. I don't care about your process. Do your job. Torres didn't flinch. I understand your frustration, but yelling at me won't make this go faster. Then we need more evidence. The flash drive gave us names and routes, but we need transactions, financial records, something that ties the leadership directly to the operation. She paused. There's someone who might have that information, an accountant who works for the cartel. He's been trying to flip for months, but he's terrified. So convince him. We've tried, but he wants protection for his family first, his wife and 2 kids. We don't have the resources to cover all of them right now. Caleb saw where this was going, but the Hells Angels do. I can't officially ask them to get involved, but unofficially, say no more. Caleb pulled out his phone and called Jim. Jim answered on the first ring. How's your mom? Stable, but we have a new problem. Caleb explained Torres' proposal. An accountant and his family. Where are they? Tucson. That's Bandidos territory, not ours. We'd need permission to operate there. Can you get it? Jim was quiet for a moment. Yeah, but it'll cost us. The Bandidos don't do favors for free. What do they want? That's club business. You don't need to worry about it. Jim, if you're putting yourselves at risk because of me, kid, we were at risk the moment we decided to go after this cartel. You just gave us a good reason to see it through. Jim's voice softened. How's Emma supposed to live in a world where people who do the right thing get punished? I'm doing this for her as much as for you. After Jim hung up, Agent Torres stood. If the Angels can extract that family, I can have arrest warrants ready within 48 hours. And if they can't, then we find another way, we always do. She handed Caleb a card. My direct line. You need anything, you call. The next 3 days blurred together. Caleb stayed at the hospital with his mother sleeping in the chair beside her bed. The Hells Angels maintained a rotating watch outside her room, much to the hospital staff's discomfort. Jim checked in twice daily with updates on the Tucson operation. On the 3rd day, Caleb's mother was strong enough to sit up and eat solid food. Color had returned to her cheeks, and she was arguing with her nurses about getting discharged early, a good sign. You're not going anywhere until the doctor clears you, Caleb said firmly. I'm fine. You had a pulmonary embolism. That's not fine. I've had worse. She had a point. Caleb's phone buzzed. Jim, we got them. The accountant and his family are safe. Relief flooded through Caleb. Where are they? Can't tell you that, but they're talking to the FBI right now. Torres says she'll have warrants by tomorrow morning. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We lost a man in the extraction. Good guy named Pete had a wife and 3 kids of his own. The news hit Caleb like a punch to the gut. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. War has casualties. Pete knew the risks. Jim's voice was heavy, but his family's going to need help. We take care of our own, but the money you gave me, give it to Pete's family. Kid, that's your rent money, your mom's medical bills. I'll figure it out. Pete died because of me. The least I can do is make sure his kids are taken care of. You're a good man, Caleb Hayes. Better than most. After he hung up, Caleb sat with the weight of what he'd done. A man was dead. A father, a husband gone because Caleb had helped an injured biker. The guilt was crushing. Baby, what's wrong? His mother had been watching him. Someone died, one of the bikers. He was protecting the accountant's family. That's not your fault. How is it not my fault if I hadn't helped Jim, if I just called the cops like a normal person? Then Jim would be dead. Emma would have lost her father, and this cartel would still be poisoning kids. His mother reached for his hand. You can't control everything. Sometimes doing the right thing costs more than we want to pay, but that doesn't make it the wrong choice. I don't know if I can live with this. You can. You will. Because that's what we do. We carry the weight of our choices and we keep moving forward. She squeezed his hand. Pete made his choice too. He chose to protect those people. Honor that choice by making it mean something. A commotion outside the room interrupted them. Raised voices, someone arguing with the guards. Then the door bursted open and a girl stormed in, 12 years old, dark hair and a ponytail, wearing a Hells Angels youth jacket. You're Caleb. He recognized her from the photo Jim carried. Emma. Dad said I couldn't visit until it was safe, but I don't care. I had to meet you. She crossed the room and hugged him before he could react. Thank you for saving my dad. Caleb, completely unprepared for this, awkwardly patted her back. Don't say you just did what anyone would do, because that's crap. Most people would have called the cops. You didn't. You stayed with Ian all night. You protected him from those men. Emma pulled back, her eyes fierce. That makes you family. Jim appeared in the doorway looking exasperated. Emma, I told you to wait in the truck. And I told you I was 12, not 6. I can make my own decisions. Clearly. But Jim was smiling. He nodded to Caleb. Sorry about the ambush. It's okay. Caleb looked at Emma, seeing the same determination in her eyes that her father had. She reminds me of you. God help us all, Jim muttered. Emma turned to Caleb's mother. Hi, Mrs. Hayes. I'm Emma. Your son's amazing. Caleb's mother, who'd been watching this exchange with quiet amusement, smiled. He is, isn't he? Dad says you've been sick, that Caleb works 2 jobs to take care of you. 3 jobs now, actually, Caleb interjected. Had to pick up extra shifts. Not anymore, you don't. Jim pulled an envelope from his jacket. Pete's wife insisted. Said she can't take money that was meant for you. Said Pete would have wanted it to go to someone who was still fighting. I can't. Yeah, you can. Pete's family has 100 brothers and sisters who make sure they're taken care of. You've got what an uncle in Prescott. Jim pressed the envelope into Caleb's hands. Take it. Let your mom heal. Let yourself breathe. Caleb opened the envelope. The full $10,000 was there, along with an additional $5,000 and a note in unfamiliar handwriting. For Caleb, who gave my husband a reason to believe in heroes again. Maria Hernandez. He couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The generosity was overwhelming. There's more, Sarah said, entering the room behind Jim and Emma. The accountant came through. Torres has enough to arrest 37 people, including the cartel's entire northern operation leadership. They're executing warrants as we speak. It's over, Caleb's mother asked. Not completely, but the immediate threat is neutralized. The contract on Caleb is worthless now. The people who issued it are in federal custody. Caleb felt something in his chest loosen. We can go home. Your apartment's being cleaned and secured. FBI swept it twice. You're clear. Sarah smiled. You survived, kid. Both of you. The relief was so intense it made Caleb dizzy. Emma grabbed his hand. You have to come to our barbecue next month. The whole club throws this massive party every summer. Dad wants you there. Emma, Jim started. What, he's family now. Family comes to the barbecue. Caleb looked at Jim, who shrugged. She's not wrong. You're invited, both of you. We'll think about it, Caleb's mother said diplomatically. That's mom speak for yes, Emma declared. I've been studying adult linguistics. Despite everything, the fear, the violence, the loss, Caleb laughed. It felt good. It felt like maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. His mother was discharged 2 days later. The drive back to their apartment was surreal. Everything looked the same buildings, same streets, same parking lot, but everything had changed. The bullet holes from the shootout had been repaired, the blood cleaned away. But Caleb saw it all anyway, his memory replaying that night in vivid detail. Are you okay? His mother asked as they climbed the stairs to their unit. Yeah, just weird being back. Inside, the apartment felt smaller somehow, emptier, like a place that belonged to different people in a different life. His phone rang. Agent Torres, turn on the news, Channel 7. Caleb grabbed the remote. The local news was showing footage of federal agents leading handcuffed men from various buildings. The ticker read, Major Cartel Bust. 37 arrested in coordinated operation. We're holding a press conference tomorrow, Torres said. I wanted to mention you by name, but I was told that would put you at risk. So publicly, you don't exist, but everyone who matters knows what you did. I don't need credit. I know. That's why you deserve it. Torres paused. The flash drive evidence is going to put these people away for decades. You helped break one of the largest drug operations in the Southwest. You should be proud. After she hung up, Caleb sat on their worn couch and let it all wash over him. A week ago, he'd been a broke kid working graveyard shift, counting down to eviction. Now he had $15,000, a family of bikers who'd die for him, and the knowledge that he'd helped bring down a criminal empire. What are you thinking about? His mother asked. How much can change in 7 days? And how none of it would have happened if I just stayed behind that counter, if I'd called the cops and let someone else deal with it. Do you regret it? Caleb thought about Pete, about Rita taking a bullet, about Agent Webb's daughter still missing somewhere. He thought about the fear, the blood, the moments when he was certain he was going to die. Then he thought about Jim getting to watch Emma grow up, about an accountant's family safe in witness protection, about 37 people who would never poison another child. No, he said finally, I don't regret it. His mother came and sat beside him. Good, because I'm proud of you, not for being brave or strong or any of that nonsense. I'm proud because when it mattered, you chose kindness. You chose to help. That's who you are, baby. That's who you've always been. Caleb leaned his head on her shoulder, feeling more exhausted than he'd ever been in his life. I just want things to go back to normal. They will, eventually, but you'll be different. This changed you. Is that a bad thing? No, it's just a thing. We change every day with every choice we make. Some changes are just bigger than others. That night, Caleb lay in his own bed in his own room and tried to sleep. But every sound made him jump. Every car door, every voice in the hallway sent adrenaline flooding through his system. Around 3 a.m., he gave up and went to the kitchen. His mother was already there making tea. Couldn't sleep either, he asked. Bad dreams, you. Every time I close my eyes, I see that gun pointed at you. She poured him a cup of chamomile. It's going to take time. We've been through trauma. Our brains need time to process. How much time, however long it takes. She sat across from him. But we'll get through it, together. His phone buzzed, a text from Emma. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about Dad almost dying. Does it get better? Caleb typed back. Don't know yet, but I hope so. Me too. Night, big brother. The words hit him hard. Big brother. He'd never had siblings, never thought he'd wanted them. But seeing those two words made something warm bloom in his chest. Night, little sister. He showed his mother the exchange. She smiled through her tears. You've got a sister now. Looks like it. How do you feel about that? Caleb thought about Emma's fierce hug, her determination to meet him, despite her father's protests, her insistence that he was family. Pretty good, actually. The next week passed quietly. Caleb returned to work at the rusty pump, though the night shift manager took one look at him and moved him to days. His co-workers whispered when they thought he couldn't hear, having seen the news coverage, and put pieces together. On Friday, Jim called. Pack a bag. You and your mom are coming to the clubhouse tomorrow. The barbecue's not for 3 more weeks. This is different. The club voted. We want to make it official. Make what official? You'll see. Just be ready by noon. The clubhouse was outside Flagstaff, a sprawling compound that looked more like a small town than a headquarters. Dozens of motorcycles lined the parking area. Music played from massive speakers. The smell of grilling meat filled the air. Emma ran up as soon as they arrived. You're here, Dad said you might not come. And miss this? Not a chance. She grabbed his hand and dragged him toward the main building. Come on, they're waiting. Inside the clubhouse was full. Every member of the charter seemed to be present, along with people from other chapters Caleb didn't recognize. They all turned to watch as Emma led him to the center of the room. Jim stood there with Sarah and Hank. All 3 wore their vests, patches gleaming. Caleb Hayes, Jim said formally. You've been called before the club for recognition. Caleb's heart pounded. I don't understand. We don't offer membership to everyone. Hell, most prospects wait years before we even consider them. But you've proven yourself in ways that matter. You protected one of our own. You stood against people who wanted to kill you. You kept your word even when it cost you everything. Sarah stepped forward, holding something, a leather vest, black and heavy with patches sewn onto it. Not the full rocker that marked official members, but something else. Honorary member. This doesn't make you a Hell's Angel, Sarah said, but it makes you family. It means we ride for you. It means you've got brothers and sisters in every city where we have a charter. It means you're never alone. She held out the vest. Caleb took it with shaking hands. I don't know what to say. Say you'll wear it with pride, Hank said gruffly. I will. His voice cracked. Thank you. The room erupted in applause. Emma hugged him so hard his ribs creaked. Other members came forward to shake his hand, to welcome him, to share stories of Jim's rescue that had grown in the telling. His mother watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Jim went to her. Your son's a credit to you, ma'am. He gets it from his father. He died when Caleb was 6. Heart attack. But he was a good man. Would have been proud to see this. Then we'll make sure to honor his memory. Your family's our family now. The barbecue lasted into the evening. Caleb met people from charters across 3 states, heard stories about Jim that made Emma groan with embarrassment, watched his mother laugh more than she had in months. As the sun set, Emma dragged him away from the crowd to a quieter spot. I was so scared, she said quietly. When Dad didn't come home that night, I thought he was dead. I'm sorry you had to go through that. But he wasn't dead because of you. She looked up at him with eyes too old for 12. You gave me my dad back. I know I already said thank you, but I need you to understand. You gave me everything. Caleb pulled her into a hug. Your dad would have found a way to survive. He's tough. Maybe, but you made sure of it. She pulled back. I want to be like you when I grow up. Like me. Yeah, someone who helps people even when it's scary, even when it's dangerous. Someone who does the right thing. That's a tall order. I know, but if you can do it, maybe I can too. As they walked back to the party, Caleb felt the weight of the vest on his shoulders. It was more than leather and patches. It was responsibility. It was belonging. It was proof that one choice, one moment of compassion on a stormy night had changed the course of his entire life. His phone buzzed. Agent Torres Webb's daughter found alive in a safe house outside Tijuana. Mexican authorities rescued her this morning. Thought you'd want to know. Caleb closed his eyes in relief. Even Webb, corrupt and broken, would get his daughter back. Maybe there was justice in the world after all. Maybe people who tried to do right, even when they failed, still deserved second chances. You okay, Emma asked. Yeah, just thinking about second chances. What about them? That maybe we all deserve them, even when we screw up. Emma considered this. Dad says the measure of a person isn't whether they make mistakes, it's whether they try to fix them. Your dad's a smart man. Don't tell him that. His ego's big enough already. They rejoined the party and Caleb let himself exist in this moment. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight, surrounded by family he'd chosen and family that had chosen him, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt safe. He felt valued. He felt like maybe the universe balanced out after all, and good things could happen to people who tried their best. The challenge coin was still in his pocket, warm against his leg. He touched it, a reminder of how far he'd come from that stormy night at the rusty pump. 7 days had changed everything, and somehow impossibly it had all turned out okay. 3 weeks of peace felt like a lifetime in an instant all at once. Caleb had almost convinced himself that the nightmare was truly over when his phone rang at 2 a.m. with a number he didn't recognize. Don't hang up. The voice was female, young, terrified. My name is Sophia. I'm Agent Webb's daughter. Caleb sat up, instantly awake. How did you get this number? My dad gave it to me before they arrested him. He said if anything ever happened, if I ever needed help, I should call you. What's wrong? The people who took me, they have my mom now. They called an hour ago, said they want revenge for what my dad did for the arrests. They said they're going to kill her unless, her voice broke, unless I bring them something they want. Caleb's blood turned to ice. What do they want? You. He was out of bed before she finished the word, pacing his room. Where's the FBI? Where's Torres? I tried calling Agent Torres. She's not answering. None of them are. It's like they disappeared. Sophia was crying now. Please, I know I have no right to ask, but she's my mom. She's all I have left. My dad's in prison and now they have her, and I don't know what to do. Okay, slow down. Where are you? Phoenix. They're keeping her somewhere in South Phoenix. They said I have until dawn to bring you to an address, or they'll... A sob cut her off. Caleb checked the time. 4 hours until sunrise. What's the address? You're not actually going to. What's the address, Sophia? She gave him a location in South Phoenix, an abandoned warehouse district that Caleb knew was cartel territory. It was a death trap and they both knew it. I'm sorry, Sophia whispered. I'm so sorry. My dad said you were a good person. I shouldn't have. Your dad was right. I'll help you, but I need to make some calls first. He hung up and immediately dialed Jim. It rang 6 times before a groggy voice answered. This better be life or death, kid. It is. Caleb explained the situation in clipped sentences. When he finished, Jim was silent for so long, Caleb thought the call had dropped. That's a trap. I know. They'll kill you the second you show up. Probably. And you're going anyway. Jim, they have an innocent woman, Webb's wife. She didn't do anything wrong except marry a man who made a bad choice. I can't just leave her to die. Yes, you can. That's exactly what you can do. You walk away, you call the FBI, you let them handle it. The FBI isn't answering. Torres is MIA. Something's wrong on that end, too. Caleb took a breath. I have to do this. Alone, that's suicide. Then come with me. Jim laughed sharp and humorless. You've got balls here, I'll give you that. Asking a Hells Angels president to ride into cartel territory for a woman he's never met. I'm asking a man who has a daughter to help me save someone else's mother. If it was Emma, if someone had her, wouldn't you want someone to try? The silence stretched. Then Jim sighed heavy and resigned. I'm going to regret this. Give me the address. And kid, get your vest. You're riding with family now. Caleb woke his mother as gently as he could. She took one look at his face and knew. What happened? He told her everything. She listened without interrupting her expression, growing more strained with each word. You can't go, he did. Mama. No, listen to me. These people will kill you. They will torture you and kill you, and I will lose my son. Her voice cracked. I can't survive that. And I can't survive knowing I let an innocent woman die when I could have helped. Caleb knelt beside her bed, taking her hands. You taught me that. You taught me that we help people even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I taught you to be smart too. This isn't smart. Sus. No, but it's right. He kissed her forehead. Jim's coming with me. The whole club probably. I'm not doing this alone. That doesn't make me feel better. I know, but I have to go. He pulled back, looking her in the eyes. If something happens to me, don't you dare. If something happens, the money's in my sock drawer. Jim's number is in my phone under J. Call him. He'll take care of you. His mother grabbed his face with both hands, her grip surprisingly strong. You come back to me. You hear me? You come back. I will. I promise. It was a promise he wasn't sure he could keep, but he made it anyway. Jim arrived 40 minutes later with 20 bikers. They filled the parking lot, engines rumbling like thunder. Emma was with him despite the hour. I told her to stay home, Jim said when Caleb raised an eyebrow. And I told him I was coming anyway. Emma countered, someone needs to be the voice of reason in this family. Voice of reason says we turn around right now, Sarah added, pulling up beside them. This is a bad play, Jim. I know. They're going to expect us. Probably have 50 guys waiting. I know that too. So why are we doing this? Jim looked at Caleb, then back at Sarah. Because the kid's right. If we don't stand up for people who can't fight back, what's the point of any of this? The patches, the brotherhood, all of it means nothing if we only protect our own. Sarah shook her head, but she was smiling slightly. You're going to get us all killed. Probably. Well then, let's make it count. The ride to Phoenix took 90 minutes. They rode in formation, a rolling wall of leather and chrome. Other drivers gave them wide berth on the highway. Caleb rode behind Jim on his bike, Emma sandwiched between them. You scared? Emma asked over the engine noise. Terrified. Good. Dad says only idiots aren't scared before a fight. Fear keeps you sharp. Your dad's full of wisdom tonight. He's trying not to think about how we might all die. Emma, what? It's true, sire. She twisted to look at him. But if we do die, at least we die doing something that matters. Caleb couldn't argue with that logic. They reached the warehouse district just as the sky was starting to lighten in the east. Jim signaled the group to stop 2 blocks from the target location. Listen up, he called out. This is voluntary. Anyone wants to turn back, no judgment. This isn't club business. This is Caleb's fight, and he's family, but that doesn't mean you have to die for him. Nobody moved. Nobody left. Stubborn bastards, all of you. Jim almost smiled. All right, Rita, Hank, take positions on the perimeter. Sarah, you're with me, and Caleb. Everyone else find cover and watch our backs. Anything moves that isn't one of us, you know what to do. They moved into position with military precision. Caleb's heart was hammering so hard he thought it might crack a rib. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and silent. Jim handed him a gun. I can't. Yes, you can. Safety's here, triggers here, point and shoot. You don't have to like it, but you might need it. Caleb took the weapon with shaking hands. It was heavier than he expected, cold and deadly. Sophia appeared from behind a dumpster, making everyone jump. She was exactly what Caleb had pictured, 17 dark hair eyes, red from crying. You came, she breathed. I said I would. Where's your mom? Inside. They showed me on a video call. She's alive, but she looks hurt. Sophia's gaze swept over the assembled bikers. You brought an army. Seemed appropriate. Jim stepped forward. I'm Jim Randall. Your dad and I have history. Not all of it good, but he tried to do the right thing in the end, even if he went about it wrong. That counts for something. He talks about you in his letters from prison. He says you could have killed him that night, but you didn't. He says that's why he's still alive to write to me. Yeah, well, killing federal agents is bad for business. Jim's tone was gruff. Let's go get your mom. They approached the warehouse main entrance. It was unlocked, which was the first bad sign. The second was how quiet everything was. No guards, no voices, no sounds of activity. This is wrong, Sarah muttered. Where is everyone? They found out 30 seconds later when the lights blazed on and they were surrounded. Not by cartel soldiers, but by federal agents in full tactical gear. Agent Torres stood at the center, her weapon trained on Jim. Lower your weapons. Now. Jim didn't move. What the hell is this, Torres Bataillon? This is an arrest. You're harboring a fugitive. Caleb Hayes is wanted for questioning in connection with the murder of Pete Hernandez. The words didn't make sense at first. Then they slammed into Caleb like a freight train. Pete's death was during the extraction. The cartel killed him. That's what we thought, until we reviewed the ballistics. The bullet that killed Pete came from a gun registered to James Randall. Torres's eyes were cold. Your gun, Jim. Want to explain that? Jim's face went white. That's impossible. I didn't shoot Pete. Then how did your gun kill him? It was stolen 2 months ago. I reported it. Funny we have no record of that report. Sarah stepped forward. This is bullshit. Someone's setting us up. Or maybe your president isn't who you think he is. Torres gestured to her team. Arrest them all. Conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and about 15 other charges I'll think of on the ride back. The world tilted sideways. Caleb couldn't breathe. This was wrong, all wrong. Jim hadn't killed Pete. But the evidence? Wait. Sophia's voice cut through the chaos. This is my fault. I lied. Everyone turned to stare at her. What are you talking about? Torres demanded. My mom isn't here. She's safe in Colorado with my aunt. Nobody took her. Sophia was shaking now, tears streaming down her face. They told me if I didn't help set up Caleb and the Angels, they'd kill my dad in prison. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Who told you? Jim's voice was deadly quiet. I don't know. They called from a blocked number. They knew everything, where I was staying, what school I'd be attending in the fall, my aunt's address. They said they had people everywhere, in the FBI, in the prisons everywhere. Torres lowered her weapon slowly. This was an ambush, for us. The explosion came from the east side of the warehouse, a massive fireball that sent everyone diving for cover. Automatic gunfire erupted from multiple directions. The cartel had waited for everyone to be in one place before springing their real trap. Get down! Jim tackled Caleb as bullets shredded the air where he had been standing. Federal agents returned fire while bikers scattered for cover. We have to move. Sarah was already pulling Sophia toward the nearest exit. But the exits were blocked. Cartel soldiers poured in from every direction, cutting off escape routes. They weren't trying to arrest anyone. They were trying to kill everyone. Jim, Emma's scream cut through the gunfire. Caleb looked up to see her pinned behind an overturned crate, 3 cartel soldiers advancing on her position. Without thinking, he raised the gun Jim had given him and fired. The recoil nearly broke his wrist. The shot went wide, missing all 3 men, but getting their attention. They turned toward him instead. Jim took advantage of the distraction, dropping 2 of them with precise shots. The third went down when Rita appeared from nowhere and hit him with a pipe wrench. "Get Emma out of here," Jim yelled. But there was nowhere to go. They were surrounded, outgunned, and running out of ammunition. Torres was on her radio calling for backup, but backup wouldn't arrive in time. Caleb realized with crystal clarity that they were all going to die. Then the west wall exploded inward, and motorcycles poured through the gap. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. The banditos had arrived along with chapters from 3 other clubs Caleb didn't recognize. The tide turned in seconds. The cartel soldiers, expecting an easy slaughter, found themselves facing a coordinated assault from multiple motorcycle clubs working in concert. It was overwhelming, brutal, and decisive. 10 minutes later, it was over. The cartel soldiers who weren't dead were fleeing. The federal agents looked shell-shocked, and Caleb was sitting on the ground next to Emma, both of them shaking so badly they could barely hold on to each other. "You saved my life," Emma whispered. "You're my sister. That's what brothers do." Jim appeared above them, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead, but otherwise intact. He pulled them both into a crushing hug. "Don't ever scare me like that again." "Which one of us are you talking to?" Emma asked. "Both of you. Jesus Christ, both of you." Torres approached, holstering her weapon. "We need to talk." "Yeah, we do." Jim stood, keeping one hand on Caleb's shoulder, starting with who the hell set us up. "I think I know." Torres pulled out her phone, showing them a photo of a man Caleb didn't recognize. Daniel Vargas. He was Webb's supervisor. We've been investigating him for months on suspicion of corruption, but we couldn't prove anything. Tonight proved it. He knew we'd all be here because Sophia's call was traced. He tipped off the cartel. Where is he now? In the wind, probably halfway to Mexico. Not for long. Sarah was on her own phone. "I just put the word out to every charter within 500 miles. He won't make it to the border." The aftermath took hours. Statements to give injuries, to treat, federal agents to mollify. The other clubs departed as quickly as they'd arrived, disappearing into the dawn like ghosts. Sophia approached Caleb as the sun fully rose. "I'm sorry isn't enough, I know that, but I need to say it anyway. You were protecting your father, I understand. That doesn't make it right. I could have gotten you all killed. But you didn't, and when it mattered, you told the truth. That takes courage. My dad said you were a good person. I didn't believe him. I thought," she wiped her eyes, "I thought good people were stupid. People who got walked on. But you're not. You're strong and brave, and I wish I was more like you." Emma appeared beside them. "You can be. You just have to choose it. Every day, every moment you choose to be better than your worst impulses." "When did you get so wise?" Caleb asked his adopted sister. "I have good role models." Torres called them over. Vargas was spotted trying to cross at Nogales. Border Patrol has him in custody. We also found evidence in his office communications with the cartel going back 2 years. Webb was telling the truth about being blackmailed. Vargas was the one who arranged his daughter's kidnapping to force Webb's cooperation. "What happens to Webb now?" Jim asked. "His sentence will be reduced, maybe even overturned given the circumstances. He's still got charges to answer for, but the DA's willing to consider the duress he was under." Torres looked at Caleb. "You keep finding yourself in the middle of my investigations, thinking about a career in law enforcement, thinking about a career that doesn't get me shot at, actually." "Fair enough." They returned to Kingman as the sun climbed higher. Caleb's mother was pacing the apartment when they arrived, and she grabbed him in a hug that threatened to crack ribs. "I thought when I heard about the explosion on the news, I'm okay, Mama. We're all okay." She pulled back just enough to slap his arm. "Don't you ever do that to me again." "Yes, ma'am." Emma pushed past them both. "Mrs. Hayes, your son is a hero. He saved my life. He's also grounded until he's 30. Mama, I'm 19. Then you're grounded until you're 49. I'm flexible." Despite everything, Caleb laughed. His mother was crying and yelling at him simultaneously, and Emma was chiming in with play-by-play commentary, and Jim was trying to mediate while clearly suppressing a smile. This was his family now. Chaotic, loud, fiercely protective, and absolutely insane. And Caleb wouldn't trade it for anything. Later that night, after his mother had finally stopped crying and Emma had been sent home with Jim, Caleb sat on his bed and pulled out the challenge coin. It was warm from being in his pocket during the fight, scratched from when he'd hit the ground. His phone buzzed. A group text from Sarah to what looked like the entire club network. Caleb Hayes proved himself tonight. Not just brave, not just loyal, but willing to sacrifice everything for someone he'd never met. That's what we're about. That's what this patch means. Welcome to the family, kid. You've earned it. The responses came flooding in. Messages from bikers he'd never met from chapters in states he'd never visited, all welcoming him, accepting him, claiming him as one of their own. His mother appeared in his doorway. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About how 3 weeks ago I was nobody, just a broke kid working at a gas station. And now, he gestured at his phone at the messages still pouring in. Now I'm part of something bigger than myself. You were always part of something bigger. You just didn't know it yet. She sat beside him on the bed. Your father would be proud, not of the violence or the danger, but of the man you're becoming. Someone who stands up for others. Someone who keeps his promises even when it costs everything. I miss him. I know. Me too. She kissed his forehead. But he's here in you, in every choice you make to be kind when the world tells you to be hard. That night, Caleb dreamed of his father for the first time in years. In the dream, they were riding motorcycles together down an endless highway, the sun warm on their backs. No danger ahead and no fear behind. When he woke, the challenge coin was still clutched in his fist, and his phone had 200 unread messages from his new family. Outside his window, Rita was back on watch. She'd insisted, despite Sarah's protest, that the threat was over. Caleb waved at her and she nodded back. Some things had changed forever. Some scars would never fully heal. But for the first time since his father died, Caleb felt like he wasn't facing the world alone. He had brothers, he had sisters, he had people who would ride through hell itself just to have his back. And that made all the difference. The peace lasted exactly 9 days before Caleb's world shattered again. He was restocking shelves at the Rusty Pump when his phone rang. Jim's name flashed on the screen, but the voice that answered wasn't Jim's. Caleb Hayes, a man's voice thick with a Mexican accent. You have something that belongs to us. Every muscle in Caleb's body went rigid. Who is this? That doesn't matter. What matters is that we have James Randall. We have his daughter. And if you want to see either of them alive again, you'll bring us the original flash drive. The FBI has the flash drive. Don't lie to me. The voice turned vicious. Jim Randall made copies before he gave it to his sister. We know he gave one to you for safekeeping. You have 24 hours to deliver it to us or the girl dies first. Then her father. Then we start on your mother. The line went dead. Caleb stood frozen in the middle of the aisle, his hands shaking so badly he dropped his phone. A customer asked if he was okay, but he couldn't hear them over the roaring in his ears. Jim and Emma. They had Jim and Emma. He called Sarah, but it went straight to voicemail. Tried Hank, same thing. Rita Marcus, every number he had for the club. Nothing. Either they were all compromised or they were already dead. Finally, he called Agent Torres. Caleb, what's wrong? They have Jim and Emma, the cartel. They're demanding the flash drive. That's impossible. We arrested everyone connected to. Torres stopped. When did this happen? Just now, they called from Jim's phone. Stay where you are. I'm sending a team to you right now. They said 24 hours. If I don't deliver the drive, they'll kill them. We don't negotiate with terrorists or cartels. You know that. I don't care about your policies. They have a 12-year-old girl. Torres was quiet for a moment. Did Jim actually give you a copy of the drive? Caleb's stomach dropped. He'd forgotten about it until this moment. 3 weeks ago, the night after the hospital, Jim had shown up at his apartment with a small package. This is insurance, Jim had said. Nobody knows about this copy except you and me. Not even Sarah. If anything ever happens, if the case falls apart or evidence disappears, you have this. You can finish what we started. Caleb had hidden it in the one place nobody would think to look, inside the lining of his work vest, sewn in with his mother's sewing kit. Caleb on Torres pressed. Do you have it? If I say yes, you'll confiscate it. If you say yes, I can use it as bait. We set up a controlled exchange, get Jim and Emma back safely. Like you controlled the warehouse situation, like you controlled Webb. Caleb's voice rose. No, I'm not trusting the FBI with their lives. Then what are you going to do? Well, whatever I have to. He hung up before she could respond and ran to his car. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely get the key in the ignition. Jim and Emma were counting on him. He couldn't fail them, but he also couldn't do this alone. Caleb drove to the clubhouse in Flagstaff, breaking every speed limit. The parking lot was eerily empty. The main building was locked. He pounded on the door until his fists ached. They're gone. Caleb spun around. Rita stood behind him, her face bruised, her arm in a sling. What happened? Ambush, last night. They hit 3 of our charters simultaneously. Killed 6 of our people, took Jim and Emma during the chaos. Rita's voice cracked. Sarah's in the hospital. Critical condition. Hank's dead. Most of the others are either injured or in hiding. The world tilted. Hank's dead. Took 3 bullets protecting Emma. Bought her enough time to... Rita stopped composing herself. They still got her. Grabbed her right out of her bedroom window. Caleb felt bile rising in his throat. Where's everyone else? Scattered. The cartel's got law enforcement in their pocket. We can't trust anyone. Rita grabbed his shoulders. What are you doing here, kid? You should be in protective custody. They called me, demanded the flash drive. Jim destroyed all the copies, made sure not all of them. Caleb pulled out his phone, showing her the message the cartel had sent with a photo attached. Emma bound to a chair, terror in her eyes. Jim unconscious in the background, blood on his face. Rita's expression hardened. Where's the drive? Hidden, safe. Give it to them. What? You heard me. Give them the drive and get Jim and Emma back. The evidence on that drive could put away 50 people. It's the only leverage we have. And Jim and Emma are family. Rita's voice broke. I've known that little girl since she was born. I've watched her grow up, watched her lose her mother, watched Jim raise her alone. I'm not letting her die for a case. If we give them the drive, they'll kill them anyway. You know that. Then what do you suggest? Caleb's mind raced. We need help. Real help. People they won't expect. The FBI. No, the other clubs. The ones who showed up at the warehouse. Rita shook her head. The alliance was temporary. They helped because we called in favors, and now those favors are spent. Most clubs won't risk their people for someone else's war. Then we make it their war. Caleb pulled up the photo of Emma again. This isn't just about the Hells Angels anymore. The cartel's sending a message across them, and they'll take your family, your kids. That threatens every club, every member. Rita studied him for a long moment. You're thinking like a biker now. I'm thinking like someone who's not going to let a little girl die. Same thing. Rita pulled out her phone. I'll make the calls. But Caleb, if this goes wrong, a lot of people are going to die. If we don't try, Jim and Emma definitely die. I'll take those odds. Within 6 hours, they had commitments from 4 different clubs. The Banditos sent 20 riders. The Mongols sent 15. Even the Outlaws, who normally wanted nothing to do with Hells Angels business, sent a contingent. They met at a truck stop outside Phoenix, over 100 bikers gathering in the parking lot like a rolling storm. The club presidents formed a circle and Caleb stood in the center. Why should we risk our people for your mess? The Banditos' president, a scarred man named Carlos, crossed his arms. This is your war. It was our mom, Caleb agreed. But it became everyone's war the second they took a child. If we let them get away with this, what's stopping them from taking your kids next, your families? He's right. The Mongols' president, a woman named Jackie, stepped forward. This sets a precedent. We draw a line now or we spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. And the flash drive, Carlos asked. What happens to the evidence? We use it. Caleb pulled the drive from his pocket. We make copies. Every club gets one. Insurance. The cartel knows that if they come after any of us, this goes public. Mutually assured destruction. The presidents exchanged looks. Finally, Carlos nodded. All right, we ride. But after this, the Angels owe every club here a debt. Rita stepped forward. Agreed. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. They spent the next hour planning. The cartel had set the exchange for midnight at an abandoned industrial park. They'd expect Caleb to come alone, or maybe with a few bodyguards. They wouldn't expect an army. This is going to be bloody, Jackie warned. Once we engage, there's no backing out. I know, Caleb said quietly. You ready for that? Ready to have more blood on your hands? Caleb thought about Pete, about Hank, about all the people who died because of choices he'd made. He thought about Emma's terrified face in that photo about Jim unconscious and bleeding. Yes. At 11 p.m. they rolled out. Over 100 motorcycles' engines roaring in unison headed toward Phoenix. Caleb rode with Rita, the flash drive in his pocket and a gun at his hip. He'd never fired a weapon before the warehouse fight. Now he was riding into what would likely be an all-out war. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. I know where you're going. I know what you're doing. Come back to me, please. He typed back, I will. I promise. I love you. It was a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. They arrived at the industrial park with 15 minutes to spare. The place was a maze of abandoned buildings and rusted equipment. Perfect for an ambush. They'll have snipers, Rita said, scanning the rooftops. Probably 50 guys minimum. We have 100. They have home field advantage. We have righteous anger. Caleb checked his gun one more time. Let's go get our family back. The club spread out, taking positions around the perimeter. Caleb walked toward the designated meeting point alone, his hands visible, the flash drive held up like an offering. A figure emerged from the shadows. Not a cartel soldier, but someone Caleb recognized, Daniel Vargas, the corrupt FBI supervisor who was supposed to be in custody. You escaped, Caleb said flatly. I had help. Turns out the cartel pays better than the federal government. Vargas smiled. Where's the cavalry kid? Thought you'd bring the whole motorcycle gang. They're busy. It's just me. Good. That'll make this easier. Vargas gestured and two men appeared, dragging Emma between them. She was conscious, but barely, her face bruised, her clothes torn. Emma. Caleb started forward, but Vargas pulled a gun. The drive first. Where's Jim? Nearby. Alive for now. Vargas extended his hand. The drive and you both walk away. Caleb knew it was a lie. The second he handed over the drive, they'd kill him, kill Emma, probably kill Jim too. But he also knew the other clubs were in position waiting for his signal. He tossed the drive to Vargas. The corrupt agent caught it, examined it briefly, then smiled. You're dumber than I thought. Yeah, I get that a lot. Caleb touched his pocket twice the signal. All hell broke loose. Bikers poured in from every direction. The cartel soldiers returned fire, but they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers and ferocity. Vargas grabbed Emma, using her as a shield, but Rita appeared from behind a container and hit him with a crowbar. He went down hard. Caleb ran to Emma, cutting her bonds with a knife. Rita tossed him. You okay? Dad, she gasped. They have Dad in the building. 3rd floor. He's hurt bad. Stay with Rita. I'll get him. Caleb, trust me. He ran toward the main building while the battle raged around him. Bullets whined past his head. Someone screamed. The air smelled like gunpowder and blood. The building's interior was dark, full of debris and shadows. Caleb took the stairs 2 at a time, his heart hammering. 3rd floor. 3rd floor. Jim was on the 3rd floor. He found him in what used to be an office, chained to a support beam. Jim's face was a mass of bruises, his breathing shallow. But his eyes opened when Caleb knelt beside him. Kid, you shouldn't be here. Shut up. Caleb worked at the chains with shaking hands. Where's the key? Guard had it, tall guy, scar on his neck. I'll find him. No time. They rigged this place to blow. Heard them talking. 20 minutes, maybe less. Caleb's blood froze. They're going to destroy the evidence. And everyone in it. Jim coughed and blood flecked his lips. Get Emma out. Get everyone out. Not without you. Caleb. Not without you. Caleb ran back into the hallway, searching for the guard Jim described. He found the body 2 rooms over, already dead from the gunfight. The keys were in his pocket. He ran back to Jim, unlocked the chains. Jim collapsed the moment he was free, and Caleb had to support all his weight. Come on, we're leaving. They made it to the stairs when the first explosion hit. The building shook, throwing them both against the wall. Debris rained from above. Forgot to mention, Jim gasped. Might be less than 20 minutes. You think? They stumbled down the stairs together, Jim leaning heavily on Caleb. The second explosion was closer, taking out a support column. The building was coming down around them. They burst through the ground floor exit just as the third explosion hit. The entire structure began to collapse, a cascading failure that sent them both flying. Caleb hit the ground hard, his vision going white. When it cleared, he was on his back, staring up at the stars. His ears were ringing. Something warm was running down his face, blood probably. Rita appeared above him. You alive? Define alive. Can you move? Caleb tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through his ribs. Where's Jim? Here, Jim's voice came from nearby, mostly intact. Emma, safe. Jackie's people got her out. Rita hauled Caleb to his feet. We need to move. Police are coming. The industrial park was a war zone. Bodies everywhere, cartel soldiers mostly, but some bikers too. Caleb counted at least a dozen motorcycles on their side that would never ride again. But they'd won. The cartel's local operation was destroyed. Vargas was in custody, real custody this time, with witnesses and evidence. And most importantly, Jim and Emma were alive. They regrouped 3 miles away at a predetermined location. Emma threw herself at her father, sobbing. Jim held her with his good arm, his face buried in her hair. I thought I lost you, she choked out. Never. I'll never leave you. Caleb stood apart watching them. His ribs screamed with every breath. His head was pounding. But seeing them together, seeing Emma safe in her father's arms, made every bit of it worthwhile. Carlos approached him. You did good tonight, kid. A lot of people died. Yeah, but more would have died if you'd done nothing. Carlos extended his hand. You ride like family now. All the clubs agree. Caleb shook it, feeling the weight of what that meant. He wasn't just Hell's Angels family anymore. He was family to every club that had ridden tonight. Agent Torres arrived with the FBI 20 minutes later. She took one look at the scene and shook her head. I should arrest all of you. But you won't, Rita said, because we did your job for you. We also have the flash drive. Caleb pulled it from his pocket, the real one this time, not the decoy he'd tossed to Vargas. Along with bunnies being held by every club here. Insurance. The cartel touches any of us, this goes public. Torres took the drive, her expression unreadable. This is a mess. This is justice, Jim corrected, limping over with Emma still attaching to his side. Sometimes they're not the same thing. The FBI took statements, collected evidence, and eventually let them all go. There would be questions, later, investigations, probably some legal complications. But for now, they were free. Caleb rode back to Kingman with the rising sun at his back. His mother was waiting on the apartment steps, and she ran to him the moment he pulled up. You're hurt. I'm alive. She held him like she'd never let go, and Caleb let himself sink into her embrace. He was exhausted in pain and carrying the weight of more death than any 19-year-old should have to bear. But he'd saved them. Emma and Jim were alive because of him, because of the family that had rallied when he called. Because sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking every rule and accepting the consequences. His phone buzzed. A group text from Emma Family Barbecue next month. You better be there or I'm coming to get you myself. Caleb smiled through his tears. I'll be there, little sister. I promise. His mother pulled back to look at him. What happened to my little boy who used to be scared of his own shadow? He grew up. Somewhere between the gas station and the war zone, he figured out what he was willing to fight for. And what's that? Family. The ones who chose me when they didn't have to. The ones who rode into hell because I asked them to. The ones who'd do it again tomorrow if I needed them. Caleb touched the challenge coin in his pocket, now dented and scarred from the explosions. That's worth fighting for. That's worth everything. 3 weeks later, Caleb stood in the clubhouse wearing his vest with pride. The patches had multiplied. Honorary member became full member, with additional rockers marking him as family to 4 different clubs. Emma stood beside him wearing a youth jacket with her own patches. Jim stepped forward, still moving carefully from his injuries, and addressed the assembled crowd. This kid walked into my life on the worst night I'd ever known. He was broke, scared, and had every reason to turn away. But he didn't. He stayed. He fought. And when it cost him everything, he fought harder. Jim's voice grew thick. He's shown more courage and loyalty than men twice his age. He's earned his place here 100 times over. The room erupted in applause. Caleb felt his mother's hand squeeze his shoulder. She'd been invited too, given an honorary patch of her own for raising a son who embodied everything the club stood for. Sarah recovered from her injuries and back on her feet approached with a small box. "We had this made special for you." Inside was a new challenge coin, this one larger and more ornate than the original. It bore the symbols of all 5 clubs that had ridden that night, united in a circle around a single word: brotherhood. "So you never forget," Sarah said quietly. "You're not alone. You never will be again." Caleb held the coin, feeling its weight. It represented sacrifice and loyalty, blood and tears, loss and love. It represented a family forged not by biology but by choice. Emma hugged him from the side. "You're stuck with us now. Forever." "Good," Caleb said, his voice breaking, "because I can't imagine my life without you guys." That evening, as the barbecue wound down and people started heading home, Caleb found himself alone with Jim under the stars. "You ever regret it?" Jim asked. "That night at the gas station, if you could go back, would you call the cops instead?" Caleb thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the violence, the people who died. But he also thought about Emma growing up with her father, about the cartel being dismantled, about finding a family he'd never known he needed. "No regrets," he said finally. "Everything that happened, everyone I lost, it matters because of what we built from it. This family, this brotherhood, people who die for each other not because they have to, but because they choose to." Jim nodded slowly. "You know what the funny thing is? I went to that gas station expecting to die. I'd made peace with it, but you gave me a reason to live. You gave Emma her father back. And in return, you got a family that'll never let you face the darkness alone. Seems like a fair trade. More than fair, kid. More than fair." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere in the distance, motorcycles roared to life. His brothers and sisters heading home, but never far away, never unreachable. Caleb pulled out both challenge coins, the original scarred one and the new one, and held them side by side. 2 pieces of metal that represented the distance he'd traveled from that stormy night to this moment of peace. His phone buzzed. His mother, "Come home safe. I made your favorite dinner." He smiled. "I should get going." "Yeah, me too. Emma has school tomorrow, and she'll never forgive me if I make her late again." Jim extended his hand. "Thank you, Caleb, for everything." Caleb shook it firmly. "Thank you for giving me a reason to be brave." As he rode home through the desert night, the challenge coins warm in his pocket and his vest heavy with patches earned through blood and fire, Caleb Hayes understood something fundamental about the world. Family wasn't about blood. It was about showing up when it mattered. It was about standing beside someone when the whole world told you to run. It was about choosing love over fear, courage over comfort, and loyalty over safety. He'd started as a broke teenager, working a dead-end job, invisible to the world and drowning in bills. Now he was a man with purpose, with people who counted on him, with a story that would be told in clubhouses for years to come. The kid who saved a Hells Angels president and found a family in the process. The kid who learned that sometimes the most important thing you can do is help a stranger when they're bleeding and broken, because that single act of compassion can change everything. His mother was waiting when he got home, dinner on the table and love in her eyes. He'd protected her, provided for her, and given her a reason to believe that goodness still existed in the world. As they ate together and she told him about her improving test results, about how the doctors were hopeful, about how she was finally winning her own war, Caleb felt something he'd been searching for his entire life settle into his bones. He belonged, he mattered, and no matter what darkness tomorrow brought, he would never face it alone, because he had family who would ride through hell itself just to stand beside him.